Hey everybody, welcome to this version of our Body Electric weekly webinar. What is today's date? August 22nd. I was going to say 21st, August 22nd. Super excited to have Abby Ram sharing with us tonight, really whatever she feels like sharing. For the past couple of months, we've been doing, actually since the start of summer, we've been doing these Emeralds and Above phone calls where I really just get a feel for where I feel like the team needs help, like where you guys need advice, where you guys need tips. We also have a tracker for those Emeralds and Above to be completing on a weekly basis. And I'm seeing this recurrent thing pop up of needing help with consistency, needing help with staying on track with the business, like needing to know what those activities are when it comes to growing their business. And so I thought, you know, when I wanted Abby to speak anyway, and she's like, what do you want me to talk about? I'm like, well, you know, let's talk about consistency, but let's do it in a fun and sexy way. Because if I label this consistency, it's going to sound real boring. So she's going to be sharing with you, I'm sure, all kinds of her own tips, the way that she runs her business and the successful tactics that she uses. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Abby. You can let us know how you want to handle questions, if you want to do it during or after. But I'm going to let you take the floor.
Thanks. Probably questions after will be best. And I hope you find this helpful and motivating, and that's sort of been my thought process as I was working through what I wanted to talk about tonight. And I'm going to do it sort of by weaving in my path and my experience as a coach, also with some best practices and tips and motivation, like Jenny was saying. So I've been a coach for over 4 years now, and I started as a discount coach and really was looking to get my discount on Shakeology because we were ordering 2 bags, getting to a point where we were needing 2 bags a month between me and my husband, and so the discount was necessary. And I wasn't a coach for very long before I decided to send out a public invite to my neighborhood Facebook page to a challenge group. And so it really didn't take me long before I was posting both kind of publicly and on my personal page about what I was doing as a Beachbody coach. I would call it that I was definitely dabbling. This was definitely sort of a hobby type of thing for me. It wasn't any sort of decision I made to work the business. It was just, well, I'm already in these groups myself. I really like them. So why don't I share this with other people? So I was already at that point sharing workouts, food I was eating, just because that's something I did. So it was a natural thing to start sharing the invite. But I was definitely not all in or in a business building frame of mind. I definitely said, like, I dabbled throughout that first year. So I did make some retail commission that year. I went Emerald pretty quickly in my business, actually, that first summer of 2014, because I signed a coach, someone who was really interested in the products, had known Beachbody before and wanted to continue, and my husband. So I became Emerald pretty quickly and stayed Emerald for, you know, the rest of that year. When it came to 2015, that is when something shifted for the first time I had a mindset shift. And it was also the first time I went to a Super Saturday or live event, was that January of 2015. And Jenny also did her first vision webinar for her team. And at that point, I made a decision that I was not going to be just an Emerald coach that was dabbling in the business as a hobby, but I wanted to start privately inviting, not just publicly, building a team of my own and advance my rank. And I did some checking today, and I have earned a check with every week since January 15th, 2015. So before that, it was a lot of weeks I would earn a commission and get a check from Beachbody. But since January 15th, 2015, I've never missed a week. And Beachbody doesn't guarantee any level of income, but if you work hard, your income will match your efforts to your best effort. Anyway, that is when I went all in, and my income progression reflects that. So that spring became really exciting for me as I started privately inviting as well. That was the launch of 21 Day Fix Extreme, which was huge for my business as a launching point. You've heard about that infamous or not infamous, but exciting Team Cup year for the Body Electric as a whole. And it was definitely that momentum that was able to advance my business as well. And I hit my diamond goal, I believe, in May of 2015. So I went from having 3 coaches at the beginning of the year to a diamond business by May. And that was really just feeding off of excitement for a new product launch, if that sounds familiar, and being consistent with my invitations, both privately and publicly. And so during that time, I was pretty laser focused on my rank, getting that rank and maintaining that rank. So I was focusing on recruiting new coaches as I signed on challengers, and also converting challengers to coaches, but also like the new people, enrolling them as coaches, helping my working coaches become emerald, and then just literally doing whatever it took to stay to stay diamond. And I did. I've been a diamond coach for over 3 years, sometimes by the skin of my teeth on a Wednesday night, but I've held that for over 3 years now. And that's something I'm proud of because I made the decision and I worked really hard for that. But during that time, Success Club was not yet a focus of mine. It was maybe an every other month thing, sometimes a couple months in a row, but I was still at that time, even as a newly diamond coach, of the mindset of if it happens, that's great, and I'm trying my best, right? I told myself that it was really hard to find people every month, that maybe I could find 1, maybe I'd find 2, but to expect me to get 3 people every single month, this is what I was telling myself then, that was just kind of asking a bit much of me, who had a full-time job with a kid, only a few hours a night as a family together. So that was the mindset I was in, even after I had worked so hard to build my business to this new rank. And then I had another shift in my mindset that winter, because after busting my butt to hit Success Club in December 2015, I really remember this because I was private messaging with somebody on New Year's Eve. I was in the Magic Kingdom celebrating the holiday with my family, like locking in 3 Lives Club. I don't know what she was doing, that she was up and dealing with me and sending through an order on December 31st, but she did. And I hit Success Club, and then I didn't hit it. And I would have been like 2 or 3 months in a row, December. And then I didn't hit Success Club in January of 2016. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Never again is this going to happen to me. I had to start from scratch, because as soon as you miss 1 month, you start at 0 again. So I was starting from scratch in February of 2016, and I told myself that, like, never again. This is now a non-negotiable. Success Club has become a no matter what. And you hear that from me now. You hear that from Jenny. You hear it in national wake-up calls or other trainings. And I think it's really easy to hear those words and kind of brush it aside, because I'm me and you're you. And that means whatever that means to you, like whatever you're filling in those blanks. But bottom line, all I did to change my business was to change my priorities and to change my mindset. Because at that time, I was still pretty miserable working my big law firm job. I had gained 10 pounds after being in the best shape of my life earlier that year, the year before. And I was dealing with some chronic pain, which is kind of why the pain and the job are why I gained that weight. And I was not sharing very well on social media because I was just embarrassed. And, it was not an easy place to be, but changing my mind and changing the way I was behaving and acting was absolutely necessary to be able to continue in this business for me. Like, it was a now or never type of place to be in. So what does that mean to change your mindset and make Success Club a no matter what? Well, first, it starts within you and the way you talk to yourself. So one of the things that I was guilty of, and I think a lot of us can be guilty of, is saying I can't statements. So I can't hit Success Club this month because I'm going on vacation and I'll be gone a week and I don't want to post or whatever. I can't hit Success Club because I reached out to so many people last month. I can't reach out to more people this month, or whatever it is you're telling yourself. An I can't statement when it comes to working your business is really an I won't statement. Because truth is, you can, you're choosing not to. So when you start to think to yourself, I can't do that, I want you to challenge yourself and call yourself out and rephrase it as an I won't do that. And that puts your priorities in check. Where are your priorities in your business? Is it going to be building a strong, solid foundation of your business and Success Club and filling challenge groups? Or are you going to just keep waffling and just telling yourself excuses? So that's the hard line. That's the tough love there. And you've got to do that. Be tough on yourself too. You can't, don't baby yourself and give yourself an out. So that takes action. So my second kind of tough love thing is that it's not a matter of trying, but it's a matter of doing these things until it's done. So when you think in terms of I'm trying, that always leaves a door open for failure and to make that okay. So when we say things like, well, I tried my best and it wasn't meant to be, and you say that to yourself maybe on like the 28th, the 29th of the month, and you're like, there's only a day left, I've already tried, it just wasn't meant to be this month, I'll move on, I'll start focusing on the first, right? Because you think to yourself, I can't get 3 people with 2 days left, so I'll just focus on next month. Thinking in terms of that, I've already tried, so I'm not going to anymore, leaves open that door and makes it sound okay to yourself. And I want you to change that language of trying to always doing until it's done. So if that means coming down to the wire on the 31st or the 30th at 11:59, before your head hits the pillow, then you can say, I did all that I could do. And if it didn't happen, then you can look at what you've done over the course of 30 days to make it better for the next month. But if you're going to bed at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock and you have 2 people that you've been talking to, you're not doing until it's done. So, okay, beyond that, let's get down to the really basics, because what actions are you doing, right? It's the vital behaviors. It's your daily behaviors, and those consistently done. So, the vital behaviors, personal development, inviting, being proof of the products, recognition, those vital behaviors, you need to think of them less as assignments to do, and they just become a part of your life. I heard, it's been a couple years probably, this advice that when you think of like posting on social media, oh no, what am I going to post about? Like all these things, it feels like an assignment. I get stressed out. I don't know what to do. But when you start to interweave these things so much into the daily fabric of your life, it becomes very natural to do and very natural to share about yourself and your journey on social media and in private messages. So the vital behaviors as well need to become so integrated into your everyday life that it is a natural outflow when you're sharing with other people. It's so familiar and so commonplace that you don't even have to think about it, and it's just part of your day. But I want to focus most on proof of the products, because working out and drinking Shakeology is your job. It's your job. And as coaches, that means we must be committed to a program from start to finish, because there is power in our programs. Doing our programs consistently and sharing it consistently builds credibility. It is the marketing built right in for you, and of course, it's good for you. So you should want to do it anyway. So you commit to a program, and then what are the actions that you take beyond that commitment to yourself. You announce that commitment on your Facebook page or on your Instagram feed, whatever it is. You make that announcement of this program on social media, and then you consistently share that your progress with the program and your journey, whether it's your meal plan that day, your workout that day, the ups and the downs. But as I say that, I want to add my standard disclaimer about sharing the downs or the struggles that you have in your own personal journey and with our products, or with a program, not our products necessarily. Best practice on social media is to be honest and vulnerable, but to never be negative. So if you hated a workout one day, or you've decided to do 80-day obsession or 21-day fix or whatever it is, and you hate Autumn, just some people she rubs the wrong way, for example, not me, but you don't share that publicly or in our challenge groups, because even though the challenge groups are also there for us, we are the standard bearer. Like, our energy is the energy of the group. Your energy is the energy of the people that will be interacting with you on social media. So if you had an awful day and your workout sucked, you can share that in a way that is honest and real without being really negative and turning people off and saying, well, if that workout was that terrible, why on earth would I want to join her, right? That sort of thing. You can share the why of your challenge, but remember that this is your business and you don't want to drag it, any part of it, even if there's legitimately things you don't like and won't ever do program-wise in our library, you don't drag it through the mud for you and for the rest of us. So that's my little side note disclaimer there. So you're committed to a program and you're announcing it and you're ready to share. So this is where the consistency piece comes in. And this is the biggest misstep I see with coaches in general too, is the lack of consistency sharing your own personal journey. And I've got kind of two examples of the way this can go, and I'm going to use the word you. I'm not talking directly to any of you on the call, so don't take offense if it feels familiar, because I was not thinking of any one person or anything like that. But for a new coach, this is what it usually looks like. You're a new coach, you're so excited to start your journey, so you share that you've become a coach, that you're joining a challenge group. You start inviting publicly, so you're posting, join me, private message me. You might send a few private invites along the way, but say you only have one person interested, but they don't want Shakeology, or they don't like streaming online and they've got the DVDs from 5 years ago, or whatever it is, and nobody else says yes. And after a few weeks, maybe even the first month, your excitement just completely fizzles out. You don't see where this is going or how this is going to work, because it's not happening like that. Why aren't more people joining you? So you start to think, what is the point of sharing? What is the point of inviting? And your posts become more infrequent, even if you're still doing the program, until you stop altogether. And at that point, when your business goes nowhere, you might blame it on the people who failed to join you, rather than looking more introspectively. Because the failure wasn't of the people that didn't join you, but when you stop prematurely, there is a lack of commitment and consistency with sharing. You've got to keep going and making those posts in spite of snarky comments, in spite of those passive-aggressive posts we see from people about those crazy people sharing their fitness, or so-and-so sharing food again, or when someone sends you a message that says, hi, how are you? And you find out they've just joined an MLM. Have you seen those? Got to ignore those, ignore the haters, and just keep sharing your journey unapologetically. And why do you do that? Because trust takes time. By posting like crazy and then fizzling out, you've actually helped further those people's opinions, because you're showing people that maybe this isn't the real deal because you only lasted a few weeks, that you're just another person joining an MLM that didn't work out. For the established coach, it can come in the form of laziness, a lack of commitment to a program, because a lot of times we're doing programs back to back to back, and then you're like, whoa, I need a break, or life happens, right? And you don't commit to a program. And this has been so true for me in my periods of downtime when my business has suffered, or when I haven't had like the biggest upswings in my Success Club points or whatever it is, bringing coaches on. It's because of my lack of commitment to a program and lack of sharing on a consistent basis what program I am doing. So your posts become haphazard or really impersonal. Like, we have a lot of team groups, which are awesome to be able to invite to, but when we're not committing to those programs or something that we can tie in a personal post to, people can tell when those are sort of the wall that you're putting up there when you're inviting a public invite to a group. If there's not some personal buy-in from you, I think that reads across in public invites for sure. And again, when coaches go MIA, that trust that you've built is broken, because again, they're now saying, well, maybe this isn't everything she's saying it is because she's not doing it anymore. You might be doing it, but if you're not sharing it, people don't know and are going to start making assumptions. So the trick is instead to become that go-to person for support in the health and fitness industry. When people see you doing this every single day, or a consistent post several times a week, they're going to know that you're someone they can reach out to, when they have a question, or when they need a new recipe. Whatever it is, you want people to think, oh, I'm going to ask Kim what she thinks about this, or if she's got an idea for this. But when people stop seeing you as someone in the know, they won't think of you for those anymore, and they won't be coming to you for help. So consistency means showing up. It means building trust and becoming an authority or a go-to person in our area. And along those same lines, I also recommend, in addition to sharing about your fitness journey, also sharing, we talk about in other trainings, like the 5 pillars, like what makes you you. You got to think of the 5 areas of your life that make you unique, and becoming the expert of your own life. And what I mean by that is, I'll use me as an example. Okay, so when I was working full time, I kind of had these long hours. My daughter was in daycare. We had to commute, and we only had a couple hours at night. I was sharing a lot of food at the time. So I feel like I became sort of the expert in how to make dinners that were really good in a short amount of time, that were healthy. Then when I got pregnant, it was more of like, I was expert in staying fit and healthy when you were pregnant for those 9 months, or whatever it is. So like, what makes you you? What about your life or your work situation is unique right now? And you've got to share about it in a way that makes you look like an expert in that area. So when another person sees you who's in a similar life situation, they look at you as sort of an authority in that area. They see that you're rocking it, or that you're being honest about the struggles you're having as you're rocking it, and they want to come to you for help and trusted advice. So you got to be thinking about what your niche is and sharing how you just really can handle everything that comes your way, or the struggles that come your way when you have, say, 4 kids at home, or a full-time job and you're shuttling back to practices and things. That is such an area that people need help with. Moms on the go. So like Shauna has got that on lockdown, right? So when you've got your thing, you got to share it so people know to come to you if they're in a similar situation. And sometimes everything I've just said, you're doing all of the actions you're supposed to be doing, and it is still not quite enough. Like, you are still like this short when it comes to hitting Success Club in a month. And for me, October, like every single year, that is October for me. I just am like struggling so hard in those months. And yet I've still hit Success Club in October. And that's because I'm either offering incentives to close a sale, like a tank top or a mini blender from Amazon, or even I've come now to just be doing Amazon gift cards because it's so easy. I don't have to ship anything. I just put in someone's email address and boom, it goes out. That's just so much easier for me to do than ordering a tank top, then shipping it, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm calling in favors to my family, and I don't recommend doing this every single month, but once a year, especially now with the new 6-month rule, if you need packets of Shakeology or a performance line stack, and your family member might like the workouts on Beachbody On Demand, like I've called in favors in October. It's always October because it's not an option to not hit Success Club, okay? So I've decided I will do whatever it takes, even if that's me paying extra, like paying for someone extra, paying for extra product for myself, paying back my family member, that sort of thing. Don't do that all the time. It's not allowed to do that on a regular basis. But if you need to reach out to people that you normally wouldn't ask, you got to do what it takes in those tough months. And finally, I want you to think about having a growth mindset, because when you keep your eyes forward and you're thinking about how you're going to keep growing as opposed to thinking of all of the obstacles or possible excuses that are coming your way, your business has the opportunity to grow beyond what you think is possible. But if you're always thinking about those excuses or what makes your life hard, or what might make you, in your mind, what makes your situation unique from my situation, that makes it harder for you than it's made it for me, that is when we stall ourselves and we set ourselves up for failure. So a growth mindset, always look to improve, always look for what you can do next month better than what you've done this month, and don't focus on obstacles, but focus on moving forward. Yeah, that's the gist.
Awesome. Okay, you guys, I know Abby's willing to take questions if you guys have anything you want to ask specifically. So I'll open it up for questions. You can just unmute yourself, or if you really don't want to talk, you can type it in the chat.
Oh, you know what? Before someone asks a question, let me say one more thing that I forgot to put in my notes. The benefit of this, of being consistent in the way that I've described, and which was a result of me making this decision to never go back. I've been 30 months. This month will be 31 months in Success Club. Is that people start coming to me. So the majority of my Success Club points now are people reaching out to me, not me reaching out to them. They're seeing my stuff on Facebook. So a lot of times it's not like a cold, out of the blue, hey, can you help me? But they're responding either to a public invite, or just like they know over the years, like, okay, Abby's the person I go to when I am at the end of my rope. So that's the benefit. You're not putting all this work in to just keep having to focus on inviting all the time. It comes back and helps. That's why my Success Club numbers are often higher than they used to be, because half of those are coming to me, and then, you know, my half I'm taking care of by making it happen myself, being proactive.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to make. I think I mentioned recently, I don't know what call we were on, but it really is like 50-50 effort when it comes to, like, you've got to be making sure that you're reaching out to people, and that ball can never drop, but you also have to be, you know, establishing your brand on social media. And so it's kind of like you're juggling these two things that are super important. And so if you're messaging people, right, like, and you're doing really well with that, but then you're not presenting yourself on social media or sharing your journey, then your credibility could be lacking a little bit in those conversations. And if you're presenting yourself with this awesome brand, but you're not reaching out to have those conversations with people, then you're just this awesome talking head, right? So I think that's a really important point. So any questions from you guys? You can ask anything. It's funny hearing you say what you did. I mean, I wrote down certain things that you were saying, and I took some notes, and it makes me think, for me too, I feel like at some point in my business, and I can't pinpoint when it was now, but at some point I had to make the decision. Like, it really is just, we talk about how Emerald is a decision and Success Club really is a decision. And I remember my upline telling me that on phone call after phone call after phone call. She'd just be like, well, Success Club, like, what's it going to be this month? Like, why haven't you hit it yet? And it was just, it's almost like we wouldn't talk about anything else, because it was like, that was the benchmark for me to move my business forward. And I was always saying the things that you were just saying, like, I'm trying, right? Or, well, it happened last month and I've got lots of people lined up for next month, but I just don't know how I'm going to lock it in now, right? And all those common things that you hear people say. And
yeah.
So hearing you say that kind of brought it all back to me. And so really for me, it was like, I think honestly, it got to the point where I was like, I'm so sick of hearing her ask me about this. Like, I feel like I'm like disappointing my upline, which really, that's not what it was about. But that then led me to understand why it was so important, because as soon as I started hitting it and as soon as it became consistent, it was like 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, I started to see my business grow. Like, my income started growing, my team started growing, like, and then it started to make sense, right? So hearing you say that maybe kind of brought it all back for me. As far as those, everything in this business really is a decision. The next thing you might be faced with is like, I remember once I started hitting Success Club consistently, like, I think I was looking for praise. Like, I think I was like, look, like, I've done it like 3 months in a row, right? And then she just shifted the conversation. Like, she stopped asking me about it, and it became, how are your coaches doing? So I would start to tell her, but aren't you glad? Like, aren't you proud? Like, I hit Success Club this month. I helped 3 people, and I helped 3 people last month. And she'd be like, no, I don't. Okay, that's fine. Like, how are your coaches doing? And so then it like shifted my mindset into thinking like, okay, now she wants me to be worrying about other people. Like, first she wanted me to worry about myself. Now I got to worry about other people. So, but it's these small decisions in your business, right? Like, making the decision to become an Emerald, making this decision that you're going to be consistent with Success Club, making the decision like Abby did that you're not going to drop that rank, or that you're going to do everything in your power to pad that rank and to be, a successful diamond coach, or whatever the case is, or Emerald, or whatever. So there's all these sort of like decisions. And the thing that, I don't know if this came through fully, but I'll make sure it does by saying this, is that if you guys knew how many times I'm getting a message from Abby over the last few years at like 11:30 at night, where she's sending an order through to make Success Club happen, or she's, reaching out to making sure everything's in alignment for her to not drop rank. Like, she's legitimately being tedious and relentless in the pursuit of that decision, right? The decision to keep Success Club non-negotiable, to keep her rank non-negotiable. So if this isn't like presented to you to scare you in any way, like, it's not meant to be like, if you're in your business, this is the way it's supposed to be. But it really is just sort of telling you, it really is just as simple as making that decision. Making the decision that you're going to just work as hard as you need to in order to make it happen. And the one thing that I found in this business, from elite coaches to Janelle Summers, like the best of the best, like, the one thing that's consistent is that coaches that are successful do whatever it takes. And they do whatever it takes on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And so if you're wanting to turn this business into a business, I think what Abby said about using the language of, I can't do this because, change that to, I won't because, right? Like, I'm trying to, well, no, I don't really care if, like my upline used to be, I don't really care if you're trying. Like, what are you doing, right? So having those mindset shifts really does play a role. So, okay, any specific questions, you guys, for Abby? Katie, go for it.
Hey, I was just wondering, as far as metrics, what are you inviting 2 to 5 people a day? I saw that you have like 20 Success Club points like every month now, which is amazing. So are you talking to like inviting 20 people a day, or what does that look like as far as numbers?
Well, that's a good question. No is the short answer. I don't have those large number of invites a day at this point in time. And that is a product of a lack of my consistency in my daily vital behavior of inviting, and my excuses of having a baby. But so I'll be totally honest that no, I'm not doing those high of numbers. But I do blitzes. I know Jenny does these too, in addition to consistent invites. So I'll do a blitz of inviting. Like I went through, I had a list of 100 people that I had made like a year or two ago. And I was like, oh, I'm going to work from this list because it's probably been a while since I've talked to a lot of these people. So like I did a big blitz of inviting at the, I would say the end of July, beginning of August, I believe. And then kind of targeted smaller invites, maybe like 10 a week, but not 10 a day. And so I don't think I'm the best example of like what a daily behavior should look like at like this point in my business today. But when I was actively building, yeah, I really did try to hit that 5 to 10 new conversations a day, and also doing maybe 50-50 conversations, invites. And then of course those conversations have then merge into invites. But because I do a lot, and I still do this, but I try to be an active participant in other people's lives on social media so that when I want to send them an invite, it doesn't seem like it's coming out of the blue, even if we haven't been forming. So they're not going to be like, where did she come from? It's going to be like, this makes sense because she commented, well, like we did in that power hour, like you've been commenting on people's posts, so it makes sense for you to message them, that sort of thing. Yeah. And you had asked too about invite language, and I did go back through my messenger to kind of get some ideas. And I keep it pretty simple, conversational, like this is what I try to always say, like, this is what I'm doing. I think you're going to like it too. I'd love to have you join me. That is the basic script I use for almost every single invite. And that kind of gets back to what I was saying earlier about like making sure we're committed to the programs and not coming off too impersonal, especially in public invites. Always trying to make, you're not going to do every program necessarily, but I usually am doing the programs that we're doing in a challenge group. But because it's usually the new product launches that I've been able to capitalize on the most. That's my basic script.
I have another question too, a follow-up, unless anyone else wants to jump in first. I tend to overwhelm things.
Go for it.
Okay. What do you use to like track, to stay consistent, to keep track of what you're doing?
I used to love Teamsy, but fell out of the practice of using Teamsy. I think though, if you are starting either kind of from scratch or are a newer coach in the business, that Teamsy is really great to use, especially if you've never used it before. It really got me in touch with so many people that I would have never reached out to, either because they weren't popping up on my radar unless I went to go look for them, which I never would have like thought, oh, I should go talk to them. And then it also forced me to reach out to people that I might have not wanted to. Like I'd skip them for a few days and be like, okay, I want them to get off my list, so I'm just going to message them. Like I don't have to invite everybody. I can just say hi, right? So Teamsy, I think, is great to start with. Like I said, I stopped using it because I had almost gotten through the list, and so it become too repetitive. But it is good also because it will trigger you. You can trigger it to make you follow up. I make sure I know who I've most recently invited so I can go follow up with them. I don't use like a sophisticated system. I don't have any lists. Like I know Jackie has like all of her lists really nice. I do like kind of jot down the people that I've most recently invited. I was using that big list that I mentioned earlier, so I was highlighting the names as I went by so I could go get a quick visual. A lot of times I'll save it on my computer. That way I don't do a lot of invites necessarily on my phone. If I'm going to sit down and invite, I like to be on my computer because it's easier to type. So yes, I just make sure I'm jotting down who I've most recently invited so I know to follow up with them so I don't forget.
I'm going to share this real quick as just sort of this is not a question that has been asked, but this is just something to share that I've been thinking about in my own head. I've been thinking like, okay, I'm seeing your business evolve very similar to how mine did as far as the Success Club numbers and the rank follows and all that kind of thing. So I've been thinking like for the sake of this call, like what is the question that people should be asking, right? Like that they're not asking. And so the first thing that I thought in my head was, I have a feeling that just from knowing Abby, like we were roommates in college, like we talk, like I was saying, she messages me sometimes at midnight and I'm always up because we're both night owls. Like we used to have an American Idol thing in college where we'd watch it at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So we're always like on at the same times and whatever, but just from knowing Abby as well as I do, I have a feeling that there's one commonality that we share. Not only are our businesses progressing similarly, but there's probably one commonality that we share that I thought I would share here. So, and that is that I think I have a feeling, and this is just a hunch, that we both progress conversations with people in a very similar manner. We're a little bit more, what's what I want to say? I'm guessing we're probably a little bit more forward. I don't know what the right word is. Like we're propelling a conversation along with someone a little bit faster than the average coach is, if that makes sense. So we don't do, I'm guessing, and Abby, you can tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think she and I we don't spend a whole lot of time in the forming stage. Like if we're having a conversation, there's an invitation that's going to be placed, and then we're going to move forward with that invitation. So that's just sort of something that's been in my head. Like I was thinking what makes us similar, because obviously our businesses are moving along similarly. And that made me think of the fact that, yeah, I have a feeling that the conversations you're having are very similar. Just from little things that you've shared or screenshots or conversations that I've seen, we're very similar in our style with that.
That's I would say that's accurate.
Yeah.
And Katie, this is more directed at you specifically, to be confident in the way you talk to people, because over the years, as you shared messages with people, your responses and the way you care for people and walk them through to the solutions they need is amazing. So don't necessarily think you need, like, there's not something out there I think you're necessarily missing. I've always thought that, especially with that one you shared today, your follow-up.
Now I'm stuck on it. So Jenny, stay tuned for a screenshot of telling me what to say.
No, I mean, Abby's right. Like you do a fantastic job with your conversations, and yeah, so that what I was saying as was not directed at anybody particular. It was more of just like, I was just thinking like, well, what do we do that's so similar that's giving us the same Success Club numbers? Like we're both somewhere around 20 Success Club points a month. Like your business is rank advancing very similar to how mine did. So yeah, so that made me think like, well, what are we doing the same? And then I was also thinking, of course, like what could we both improve on? Because we probably don't see that weakness ourselves. So anyway, that was just inside my brain for a moment.
Another thing about consistency is when I decided to do Beachbody as my full-time job again, and then I've been trying to track the numbers for Jenny's spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. And I realize I really am not filling the hours. Like I'm like busy and I'm talking to people, but I didn't really I wasn't tracking what I was doing really. So I have been trying to use systems to track, but today I just started tallying. Mm-hmm. And I really am talking to a lot of people about a lot of different things, but I could see where my gaps were. I'm like, oh, I'm doing a shit ton of forming, but I have not invited anyone to be a coach on my team, but I'm busy all day long. So that's been really helpful to and then to realize oh, I definitely stopped working at 3 today. But if it was my regular job, I would have not stopped working until 5 or 6, you know what I mean? So I think what you're saying is changing your mindset and changing my mindset to this is a job and I can't just leave at 3 because I feel like it. It's going to be really big for me. So.
Yeah, I saw your message on the Google sheet today about the about just the awareness that you had with the tracking, and I think that was the other reason for that tracking, was not only for me to see what people were doing, but was mostly for people to be aware of what they're doing. I've had people say, like, I've had people post in the comments section, you know, like, oh wow, I didn't realize, like, I just tracked my week and I realized I didn't do any public invitations, right? Or I just tracked my week and I didn't do any private messages, but I did 4 public invitations. So the purpose of that is not only for me to be able to see it and know what the team needs, but it's also for you guys to just have a sense of awareness. Like, you should be forming with people, but you should also be sending invitations. And
Yeah,
that's good to hear. That's great awareness.
and I've been thinking.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, real quick, one more last thing. I've been liking the old school business activity tracker. I don't know if that's even, but I have them printed from when I became a new coach. Like, I made this binder and I found it. Like, I have like all of these things printed. But at night, I haven't been going to bed unless I have every single little box checked off. Yeah. And that's been big for me too.
It's a great form of accountability, whether it's the BAT or.
I think that's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jackie, I think you had unmuted yourself and then I kind of cut you off. Did you? Or what, did I make that up?
It was nothing big. I was just going to say, I was about to hear Abby share that same, I feel like I have the same experience with Teamsy. Like, I loved Teamsy at the beginning. It got me in the habit of reaching out to people, which I needed to do to get past that, like, what am I going to say to them? But then I got to that point where the same people kept popping up, or all of my people popping up were like Beachbody coaches or people I'm going to reach out to. So I don't know. I feel like I kind of outgrew Teamsy. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't using it right, but I kind of hit the same roadblock where it was great for kind of training me to form and connect. Mm-hmm. And now just keeping super informal.
Yeah, I mean, I seriously loved it for a long time, not just at first. It was pretty clutch for me because I've never been a great system person. So it was worth paying $30 a month to have someone force me to do stuff. Computer forced me to do stuff.
It's also a great way to just have all your contacts, everything tracked and everything in one place.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, any questions? Any more questions? No? Okay.
I have one more.
Okay.
Because I was looking at a list I made in my not fancy notebook. What do you do with, or how do you best follow up with utilized customer leads?
So customer leads.
Or do you? I'm struggling with that.
So I am going to be real honest. I stopped sending welcome emails to my leads quite a while ago. I have had a few good challengers come out of my lead program over the course of the years, maybe like one a year. And they've always been the one that reaches out to me. Like, they've submitted the contact my coach form on the website. I've never had, well, maybe once or twice, I've had someone actually reply to my email and be like, yes, I want to work with a coach. 9 times out of 10, or more than that, like nothing. So that was something I cut as far as a time suck for me. I have a lot of customer leads that order Shakeology, because now that I forget what the program requirements are, but I'm in the Shakeology program. So I get Shakeology leads every month. And a lot of times they still order, and those are the people I want to respond. So I'm going to be like, can you cancel your order and order again, because I don't get points? But they don't respond to my emails either. If I'm like, you can upgrade and do this and that, they just don't respond. I don't want to rock the boat. I'm like, just do your thing. Order your stuff, because it's still a nice retail income generation. And after 4 years of being part of 3 years of being part of the lead program, I have a really deep customer list. So I am not very optimistic about leads. I've gotten 2 coach leads in however many years that I've qualified for coach leads, and they don't stick around either.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better, because whenever, the interesting thing I found is when I send the welcome emails, I've never once had anybody reply to them, but I add them all to my email list, and when I look in there, I mean, in my last email campaign, I had 22 leads open my email, and
Yeah.
they read the emails I send, so they don't respond to the personalized ones. So
Yeah. That's a great point. I do add every lead. Like whenever I go, my email marketing is something I got 3 people buy a Lift 4 challenge pack from the one email I sent last month. And I haven't sent an email in a while. So that's one thing I need to get back on. So plug for email marketing. I add every new lead to my email marketing list too. And they can unsubscribe, and a lot of times I get a couple unsubscribe notices every email, but out of the 250 people that get it, or however many people it is, I mean, who cares if 1 or 2 don't want an email? And I've seen a lot of do not contact lately. Like a lot of my leads coming in now are do not contact, which is fun.
I actually was going to just chime in on that anyway. Michael Neiman just shared something in the roundtable a couple days ago about they're trying to figure out why they're suddenly receiving so many do not contacts. They're trying to figure it out because apparently there's an elite coach that had posted that she had 2 customers. Long story short, they don't even remember being prompted about being contacted, and then they were listed as do not contacted. So it's prompted this whole investigation behind the do not contact.
Yeah.
So,
oh, well, 2 of my legit clients, 2 of my friends are do not contact.
Yeah.
I have done a do not contact twice. I've had to fix it. Jennifer will for me something, or Jennifer, why didn't I get that email? And she looked, and I'm mysteriously switched to do not contact. So I don't get coach monthlies. That never got set back up.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, real quick, I know this isn't, I don't want to go into too much detail about leads, but I did jot down some things that I've been doing with leads. I have, very similar to Abby, it's not like I do not spend a lot of my time with leads, but just real quick, I want to make sure that I mention these couple of points. One is, just like Abby said, definitely make sure you're putting them into your email list or your monthly newsletters, your email blasts. That's a no-brainer for sure. And don't be discouraged if they unsubscribe to you, because I think every time I send one out, I get 2 or 3 or 4 unsubscribers. It's no big deal. The second thing is I have automation set up in my MailChimp. It's something that you could look into, especially those of you guys that are working full-time. I'm not sure off the top of my head how much I pay for that, but I have it set up for, is it $10?
I think it's just $10 a month.
Yeah, it's not much. I know it's not much. But the way it works is anytime I have a customer lead, anytime there's new customer leads listed in my back office, my assistant will take their email addresses. She'll put it into this particular list in my MailChimp, and then they automatically receive an automatic email when they sign up. So they get that automatic email. And the way I have it set up, and I don't want to blow your minds or anything, this is something that I could share later, but I have it set up in a sequence. So I have an email automation sequence set up. So they get the initial, hi, I'm your coach, I'd love to connect. And then 7 days later, they get the, hey, did you see my message? And then 7 days later, they get the, would you rather connect via phone? That kind of thing. So they get a series of 3 emails, and I never have to do a thing. It costs me whatever MailChimp's automation is, and then I pay my assistant $10 a month, $10 a month to put those emails into the right list. She also does that same thing for my new coaches. So it's obviously not as big of numbers, but if I have 4 new coaches for the month, she puts them into our team newsletter list. But then when they get added to that list, they automatically get the coach welcome email. Because I found when Ellery was born that I stopped being timely. So as soon as I'd have a new coach sign, it was 7 days, and I was like, crap, I gotta send Betty the welcome email, and so I was really bad about it. So we set up a sequence in MailChimp so that it's taken care of for me. So that was the other thing. And then the last thing I'll say is just, so make sure you're not just sending the one email, send a follow-up or 2. And then also I've heard from other coaches that texting is working better for leads right now. I've heard that from some elite coaches say that they don't even bother with email. They just send a text message that says, hey, and they do it like quickly, like within 24 hours of the person signing up. They say like, hey, saw that you're trying Beachbody On Demand. I'm your coach. You know, I help people by running online accountability groups. This is my cell phone number if you'd like to connect. I guess people are more likely to respond through text. So that's something to consider. But to reiterate, I would not spend a lot of your business time on customer leads. They don't know you. There's no trust establishment.
Quick question for you, Jenny. How hard is it to set that up on MailChimp if you were to pay for it? Is that like a...
It's really easy. I remember when Chris and I did it, I like dreaded it and put it off. And I think I sat down and did it in like an hour and a half. So you can, once you have the feature, because I think MailChimp's pretty intuitive. So once you have the feature, like once you've paid for it, it prompts you what to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a hard time with focusing on time being a stay-at-home mom. My schedule is never the same, and
right.
I struggle with consistency built in, especially dealing with everything I'm dealing with right now with Sawyer. To have that in place, if I could take Colin's going on vacation for a week or taking off for a week, so if I could get that scheduled out for myself, just to do that automatically, it would be a game changer, because then it takes one thing off of my plate.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's what I like about it. Right now, if you guys send an email from your Gmail account to your coach or to your your customer lead, you have no idea if that customer lead has read it, has looked at it, has clicked on it. You have no idea. If you send it through MailChimp, through this automated system, you can see if they've clicked on it, if they've opened it more than once. If they did open it, did they click on your Facebook profile? You know what I mean? Like, because I put my Facebook URL in my email. So I can see like whether or not they opened the email, how interested they were in it. Did they click through? Did they go to my Facebook page? Like, so those people, maybe what I should be doing is saying, hey, for the people who are clicking through my emails more than once, I'll send them a text message, right? Like that's probably what I should be doing.
Okay.
So, but yeah, if you go to just go to YouTube tonight and just search MailChimp automation. And I'm sure they have a promo video on it, but I think it's super intuitive. It didn't take me as long as I thought it would.
Okay, because I noticed I went through my MailChimp and I was getting ready to make my newsletter for this month, because I was trying to do it at the end of the month if I still need, obviously, points. But my percentage for opening is super high. And I added all my new people. I added like 22 customer leads to my email for the last month. And every single one of them opened it. And a few of them had clicked on it like 4 different times, I'm assuming getting the recipes that I sent out. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, okay. So I really need to stay active with this, because then it could build that trust if they were wanting to need
for sure
further help.
Yeah. Email marketing is like a giant, awesome thing. Like, I have no words, obviously, because I just said giant, awesome thing, but it is such a core piece of my business. Like when we were going through the adoption with Ellery, and like, I literally feel like, looking back on that, I don't even know how I survived. I don't know how I stayed with Success Club 10, like 72 months or whatever I've accumulated. I have no idea how that happened, except to say that thank God for my email marketing, because I had email blasts that I had set up before she was born, when I was anticipating all of that. And so that was where I was generating a lot of interest, because my social media went when we were going through that. So it's a huge, Chalene Johnson preaches it. I will preach it. I actually just got Amy Snow on board with it. Like, I have been talking to her about doing it for 2 years. I'm like, why are you not doing this for your local masterminds? Like, why are you not doing this for your life coaching business? So she's fine. She just sent me her test email this weekend. So I'm a huge fan.
2 questions on that. So you do get Success Club points from people who get your email?
Oh, yeah.
And then my second question is, I don't know what to send emails about.
Yeah. So here's
I'm not a recipe person. Be like, cook plain eggs in a pan. I need that every single day.
Yeah. But you know what, though? There are people out there who don't even know how to do that, on the other hand.
It's gonna be the worst email in the world.
Well, it's funny because
plain avocado.
Well, maybe like, I mean, we could brainstorm offline sometime, but what I just worked with Amy about, like, she sent me, I told her, I was like, put together a test email, send it to me, and I'll critique it. So she sent it to me, and it was funny because she basically modeled my newsletter. So she had like her motivational letter, and then she had a couple recipes, and that was it. And I was like, well, it's awesome if you were a Beachbody coach, but like, you have nothing in here about your mastermind groups. Like, I'm like, do you even care about food? Like, I never knew you cooked. She's like, I don't cook. I'm like, then why'd you put the recipes in there? Like, it's totally not true to her at all. So we wound up with, she is passionate about nutrition and making sure people are healthy. So she did put like a hydration tip in there as like a life coach hydration tip. But then she ended up putting like a call out for her mastermind group. And then she put in like a leadership lesson. I'm like, well, that is way more like you, right? And that's more catered to her business. So for you, like, what I would say is, first of all, think about who's going to be, at least right now, who's going to be receiving this email blast. Like,
it's like a weird mix of like all of the customers that I have through Beachbody that are strangers, and then it's like a mix of people in my real life. So
here's what I would say. Number one, I would maybe post a question on your social media. If I were to send out a monthly email blast, what would you like to hear from me? The second thing I would say is, you don't have to be a cook, or you don't have to be talking about plain eggs, but since we are in health and fitness, we have Fixate, right? And so what I do oftentimes is most every recipe that I share is either a Fixate recipe or some from like the Quarter Force barbecue, like something from one of our meal plan guides. So whenever, like, pick one of those. And here's the thing that's so interesting, you guys. When you put a recipe in there, like the way I do mine is I'll say like chicken stuffed peppers, and I'll put a picture, and I'll put the recipe, and then beneath it, I'll say like 1 pepper equals 1 green, 1 red, 1 yellow, right? And so I do that on purpose because I know that some people are going to get the email and they're going to email me back and be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what is the red, green, yellow? Like, I have people message me that on a consistent basis. So then I can explain to them, oh, it's part of our Portion Fix system. It's part of our nutrition program. So for me, I use it as my common language in my email, but I do it kind of strategically so that people will ask me on it too. So I would put in like a Fixate recipe no matter what. Even if I know Julie Boris doesn't cook, she's my upline, she puts a link to it in her page. So she'll find like, I don't know if she puts it on her blog or she finds like a YouTube video recipe from Autumn. She just links it, but she doesn't type it out. So that's a good idea too. So recipe of some kind, maybe you put like a climber's tip in there if you feel like you're talking to climbers, like, people who travel. You've talked about carrying an avocado in your purse. Like maybe you have like a unique nutrition tip of the month where you're like, I never go anywhere without an avocado in my purse. Like I put avocado on my meal, on my salad or whatever. Like think about sort of like what makes you unique in the Beachbody world. And then that's what I would speak to in your messages.
Yeah, in my newsletters, they're not as frequent as they should be. And I wouldn't even call it, like, it's not even really a newsletter at this point. Mine are, to be honest, they're salesy. It's like the one time I feel like I can be I'm just like unabashed, like I'm selling this and I want you to know about it and this opportunity. It's an invite. It's always tied to a challenge group, but it's really where I get into like the details of a sale. And a lot of times it's people aren't seeing what I'm posting on Facebook. And so an email, I feel like you can better get into mechanics and people receive it a lot better because those are the kind of emails they're getting. Okay. So I use that as like an opportunity to give details, like cost this much, this is what you get. Because those posts aren't doing as well on social media anymore.
Yeah.
And I usually have a couple responses from my emails. As infrequent.
I feel like it takes the pressure off of trying to be like a guru or pass on wisdom to everyone when my life is all like struggling.
Yeah.
I'm honest in mine. Like I hadn't set my newsletter. I usually do it once a month, and I hadn't set one out in like June at all. And so I just said like one in July was like, I'm back. And I sent a picture of myself, like in a workout pose. And then just explain what I'd been going through. Like legit was like, hey, my son doesn't talk. So I've been 100% on mom duty, going through speech manuals and just like laid out what the heck I've been doing the last month. And then I tied in recipes that I was like, I'm busy. I usually do like a lunch recipe. I'll do like a quick, either a dinner or breakfast. And then I do a Shakeology one. And then I tie at the very end, whatever challenge group we're doing, I'll tie in a challenge group thing with it and do like a picture, or if you want to do something. I don't do mine super salesy because I do a lot of those on Facebook or when I reach out to people. But mine's super, I have the exact same setup each time I do mine, and I just copy and paste in whatever it is. And I'm not a writer at all. Like my writing is horrible for me. It's what I struggled with in school. Like it takes me a minute to write mine out. That's why the recipe portions I copy and paste, or I do really quickly. But I still make it happen because it's my weak point.
And then Abby, I feel like, or maybe all of you guys are kind of analytical. So I used to add people to my email list, and then I stopped for a long time, but Beachbody keeps giving you leads anyway. How can I sort to figure out like how to add like an expert or something? I don't know. What's the best way to make sure my email list is up to date on MailChimp?
Okay. I think a MailChimp, you can see like your last ad date.
Okay.
And then I think you can sort your client list by added, and then do the same thing with your customer list.
That makes sense. Thank you. Abby, I'm just going to be super honest and say I was like really worried that this call was going to be us hearing about how you're like a superwoman doing like things that are impossible. And then just finding out that like the way you do it, it's such a chill way. I'm like, okay, maybe it is possible. So.
Well, that's good.
Thanks for sharing.
I am not special or superwoman.
But you did have the tallest Christmas tree I'd seen of anyone on Instagram.
I do have a very tall Christmas tree. I also have very bad spatial recognition, so you tell me it's going to be, I don't remember how tall it is. I think it's going to be way shorter than it ends up being. It is ginormous. Anything else? Late. I wonder if I can hit. No. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen. If we all leave the meeting, I think it's going to keep recording till Jenny comes back, which is fine. She'll just have to figure that out.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.